Welcome to Nightlight. Step away from the mainstream and gather around as we enlighten the world and our realities and travel this cosmic journey we call life. Join us as we share with you and provide that beacon that can guide us all to a better way. Explore with us as we examine a metaphysical montage of spiritual insights, covering everything from the mundane to the magical, UFOs to unicorns, and everything in between. This is a time of awakening, of sharing and evolving, of spreading our wings and soaring on the cosmic breath of creation. Come and join with other light-minded spirits as we weave our lights together to seek understanding, enlightenment, and with a little luck, some wisdom. This is Nightlight, a reminder that you are never alone.
Hi, everyone. The groundhog was pretty accurate with the 6 more weeks of winter, but we've had a few nice spring-like days for the last two or 3 days. So it's been a welcomed break from the brutal winter. The viewers enjoy the cryptid shows, and it's actually become one of my favorite topics as well. I'm just getting more and more interested in what has been reported on from around the world. What are some of these critters? I just find it to be a fascinating subject. Anyhow, if you want to get an education on the cryptid topic, tonight's panel of experts will be appearing at the Bethel Park Public Library on Saturday, April 18th, starting at 1 p.m. Bethel Park is just off of Route 19 and 88 south of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. All of us get together at the various regional cryptid conferences, and it's a real nice friendship that's been developing over the years. Okay, CHRISTINE Soltis set up some of there she is, back from her day-long excursion from Bedford, Pennsylvania. Okay, she set up some of tonight's guests and is producing the Bethel Park conference. Robert Khalil is the host of the Typical Skeptic podcast. I've co-hosted with Rob, and Barbara's been a guest with him a couple of times. So you even have his merch on.
That's good.
Yes. So if Rob's not here yet, hopefully he's going to be here. He might be wrapping up one of his many shows he does per day. Let's see.
There we go.
He must have just entered. Okay, we'll get to Rob in a second.
Here I am. Hey guys.
There he is. Hey, Rob, I was just letting everyone know. See, look, they got your T-shirt on.
Hey guys. Yeah, sorry, I had my camera off. Thanks for wearing my shirt, Mark. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I got mine on for Solstice Night Sky Productions.
That's cool.
Okay, cool. So there we go. You got
we're supporting all of our merch.
Yeah, so you get to the Bethel Park conference. You got all kinds of merch. Okay,
Mhm.
and let's see who else is here. Steve Ward can be found hosting the High Strangeness Factor. Yeah, he's at the Mothman Museum on the weekends. There he is. Hi, Steve.
Great to be here.
Yep.
I
Well,
see Mothman behind you.
yeah. and you know, congratulations on what 7 years of podcasting.
Right.
And if you heard Steve's show, most recent show, um, the main guests were Brian and Terry Seach, and Brian's here with Terry in the background, plus a kitty cat. And
Yep, no extra charge.
Yes, Brian is out and about across the region doing all kinds of cryptid research, and we also have Robert Solomon, who is also a Western Pennsylvania researcher, and he gets together with all of us. So, okay, so I wanted to start off with um, letting the audience know, or if they don't already know, that Fred Saluga passed away late last fall, and he was a nightlight guest with Brian a few years ago, and as we get into the spring and summer conference season, he's going to be honored at many of the conferences, and I took 3 of Fred's classes at West Virginia Northern Community College. All of us got to know Fred at other conferences. I thought he had terrific book right there, West Virginia Paranormal Gateway. Interesting book on water cryptids and Veggie Man, all kinds of stuff from the state's history. So I was just wondering if everyone would like to just do a quick reflection on how Fred was a mentor to all of us. Your reflections, do a short elegy for him. Don't anyone want to start?
I think we lost Brian.
Well, I'm
He's
still
here.
here. I'm still here.
Okay. Somebody's missing.
Rob
Robert.
disappeared.
Uh-oh.
But Christine, do you want to start with some kind of?
Oh yeah, certainly. I've known Fred. I think I probably met him in about 2017. So I haven't known him as long as like Brian and all of them. But in the time that I did know him, I really got to learn him as a feisty and fun character. So he was the only other PI that I knew of that was in the paranormal element. So we did have that in common, and it was really nice of him to include me in his write an introduction in his UFOs and law enforcement book. And we started getting a little bit closer when the panels started, and that's just so it's been pretty devastating, I guess you could say. I don't want to cry, so I'm trying. just to say that, we miss him, and it's going to be a lot different this year, I think, for all of us, because he was kind of our mentor. He gave us a lot of opportunity, and he could be mad at you one day, and then like a couple months later, you're all getting along again. So that's our Fred. I'll go ahead and leave. Let someone else go.
All right. Steve, you want?
I didn't know Fred real well. We crossed paths many times. He was kind of a lovable old curmudgeon. His back and forth with Bruce Harrington was legendary. Even though they were friends, you wouldn't always know it with the way that they went back and forth. Actually, Bruce Harrington at a creature conference presented him with a paranormal trophy, because they would go back and forth between the idea of these things being paranormal or physical flesh and blood creatures. But Fred one time even gave me a Bigfoot cast. So I have that. I don't know where it is right now, because I put it in my basement, and nobody can find anything in my basement these days. But he'll be missed.
Okay. Robert Solomon, do you have any reflections of Fred?
So Fred, along with another person named Bob Schultz, or who got me started, they got me started doing presentations. I did Moral Fire Department. That was one of my first, and it was because of Fred. So based off of that, for letting me accomplish a dream that I've always had since I've been young, I've always had love for him. And he was a feisty gentleman, to say the least. Me and my co-host on my podcast, I would tell him, I'd be like, hey, you got to meet this guy. Like he's feisty. Like he's a good dude. He's got a great heart. He had a great heart. He was a good person. Every time I talked to him, he was always really interested in what I was talking about. He'd be like, so what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And I'm like, well, I think about this and I think about that. And he's like, listen, we're going to get you on the next one. And I would be on the next one. So I have a lot of love for him. I loved, the one thing that I could always say about Fred is Fred was Fred. If you didn't like him, he didn't care. And I always respected that about Fred. If you didn't like Fred, that's your problem. Fred ain't gonna lose no sleep over you not liking him. And I always loved that about him, because with Fred, what you see is what you got. He would never act a different way to you than he would act to somebody else. He treated everybody fairly, and he was a really, really good person, albeit one of the feistiest people I think I've ever met in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Robert Khalil, do you?
Yeah, I have a lot of. I just want to say sorry, guys. I have a bad internet connection. Can you guys hear me though?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I got to know Fred really well. First of all, like Fred came on my podcast like many times, but then I was also a part of like a Pittsburgh UFO group that we met at Bethel Park near Bread every month, and Fred was always like the highlight of the group. He always made everybody laugh, and like he really became a good friend. And then also I've been involved with these conferences with Christine. I usually do the live stream. I was involved in one of the panels, and like me and Fred were part of the same panel. So I really got to know Fred really well, and I really looked up to him for his research. And I was really, really sad when he passed. It really affected me a lot. Like I really liked Fred a lot. Yeah, he's an excellent dude.
Yeah, I think he took all of us under his wing.
Yeah.
Okay, and Brian, I'm sure you have a lot to say as well. If Terry wants to shout something from off the screen, she's allowed to as well.
Well, what can we say about Fred? We've known him, I think, Terry, over 20 years. We've worked with him, and we've learned a lot. He was our mentor, good friend. And like Robert said, you always knew where you stood with him, and like Christine said, he could be mad at you one day, and then the next day he's fine with you.
Yeah.
We would, I would always say, like, Fred would have like a wheel, like on Wheel of Fortune, you spin it, it's like Fred's Wheel of Anger, and today it's Christine. Today, the next thing it's me or it's Steve. But yeah,
He was flexible.
Yeah, he was flexible, equal opportunity anger. But yeah, we learned so much from the guy. I mean, just and we take a lot of that with us, like moving forward. And we miss you, buddy.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Just going to the locations of where things were reported. That was one of his tests to see, do we have something here, or is it someone trying to pull a hoax? Using his cop skills to talk with the reporter. There was a lot to learn from him. And Christine, you were recently working on an FBI.
Oh, I can't talk about that. That's on my personal page. I can't talk about my actual work.
Okay.
No, we'll leave that for something else.
Okay. Well, I was just gonna say, Fred could talk, be a coach in that
Mhm.
as well. So, I've heard, been in those discussions with him as well. So, I think we all learned something.
Yeah, he did have a very long career in law enforcement, if I understand.
Yeah.
Correctly. And he was still an actively registered as a PI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's all kinds of different aspects of his life that he could coach people on. So it was a unique experience working with Fred. So, okay, let's get into the conference. So, Christine, what's the objective of the conference?
Well, Bethel Park is an area that I feel hasn't been as exposed to, things like the alien events, the cryptid events, things like of that nature. They've had horror events come through, but not like things of more of like a paranormal or sci-fi type. So I started doing events at the library like many years ago, but they were just like my personal, talking to them basically and doing presentations about the stuff I was doing. And then I realized that I used to do panels like 13 years ago. So a panel, the whole point of the panel is to educate people on what a certain topic is. And for this particular one, we're going to talk about cryptids. So cryptids can be your typical, like your Mothman, your Bigfoot, your Flatwoods monster is kind of borderline extraterrestrial cryptid. You've got like the lake monsters, things like of that nature. There's just so many different types of creatures, and that's what we're going to examine. An Oxford dictionary might say that they're animals, but that's how humans would classify them. We don't know what they actually are.
Okay. And you're going to have Ryan O'Shea and Kathleen Wilson there filming it?
They do. Yeah, they do the photography. They do the photography.
Yeah, they're diligent researchers as well. I think they're at a new graveyard about every day, but they're but that's what is nice about this group, is everyone is out in the field. It's not just sitting at home with an ivory tower mentality of theories. It's going out there and experiencing what the experiencers saw. So it being at the site, that's a huge difference than just theories. So that's what one of the reasons why I like this group so much is the on site it visits and Brian, I'm sure most of the panelists and a lot of the research you do is just in the Ohio River Valley. What makes our area such a cryptid hotspot?
Well, yeah, our organization, both of our organizations, Q, which is celebrating our 40th anniversary this year, actually, and our other group, Center for Cryptozoological Studies. We're from Pennsylvania. We've done the bulk of our stuff in Pennsylvania, but we've also done research in Ohio, and now we live in a holler outside of Weirton, West Virginia. So we also do the northern Panhandle of West Virginia. It's always been, all three states actually have always been a hot spot of everything from cryptids to ghosts to UFO sightings. I don't know exactly why. I know that the Chestnut Ridge runs from Indiana down into Morgantown over 100 some miles, and that's always been a hotbed in Pennsylvania, the number one area in Pennsylvania. But actually, all of Pennsylvania, you can find sightings of all these cryptids. So it's interesting exactly why. You also remember too, you also have to have researchers in an area reporting on things. And if there isn't, like down here in the Panhandle, we had Fred was here and then we came, and there's not a lot of other researchers in the northern Panhandle. So people have to know where to go with these sightings. So that's another reason why some areas are more, there seems to be more sightings and more activity in an area. People can actually come to researchers.
Okay. And how do they contact you if they have had some kind of experience or sighting?
Well, we have two Facebook pages, Center for Cryptozoological Studies and Center for Unexplained Events. Or you can just, come right to myself or Terry's Facebook page and shoot us an email. We also have, interesting, we've also got our first global report about a week and a half ago from Greece, believe it or not. And I can't even pronounce the city it was from. But they saw a woman and her, I guess it was her husband, saw this dogman type creature in the field, and she drew it for me. And I said, hey, could you draw it for me? Because we love to have drawings. The drawings are like a window to their soul. Without us actually being there, that's the closest thing to the sighting that we can get with them. And, she asked, I asked her a couple questions about it, but maybe we may try to start to take international reports also and try to push for drawings. There's a lot of things in the whole world. Cryptids are all over the place. They're not just in, just in the United States.
Yep.
So, it's exciting times out there. I think more people now will talk because of all the proliferation of all these shows like Finding Bigfoot and things like that. And Monster Quest is back, one of my favorites. It's on Friday nights. I don't know if any of you are catching it, but the original Monster Quest was my favorite. The newer version seems to draw more on terror and the terrifying than the actually looking into the cases more than what they do. But I still enjoy it.
Okay. Hopefully you and Terry can make it to Greece and actually get to investigate this case and bring back a lot of Moussaka for us for the next show.
Like to go to Loch Ness, huh? Maybe Loch Ness someday.
I was thinking you were going to say a sea creature, but Dogman keeps popping up everywhere.
Yeah, one of the I don't want to say one. Well, maybe it is the most controversial creature that we look for. You know, but you know, I tell people, I'm like, we've never seen one, but the people who have reported it to us, they are dead serious about what they saw.
Oh yeah.
They are dead serious. They will tell
Mhm.
you, hey, you know, this can't happen, but this looked like a Hollywood werewolf.
Yeah.
Is what they say. A Hollywood, you know, we all watch the you know, all watch the movies about werewolves, and they said that's what it looks like. An upright wolf walks on twos, can run, you know, run on twos. And I think my cat is destroying the house here as we speak.
And,
In the spirit of Dogman.
That's what they're supposed to do. That's what they're supposed to do. That's their jobs. That's their jobs.
and since Christine just brought up Nessie, Steve, you live along the river. Does the Ohio River seem like it's a place where there are a lot of cryptids or something that has yet to be more explored?
Well, it does seem to be a hot spot. And also we have the Kanawha River, so we have the confluence of two rivers. There are many beliefs that is something that creates or stimulates paranormal activity. I don't know if that's the case or not, but the Ohio Valley has always been a place where not just Mothman, but all kinds of bizarre events have taken place. So it does seem like water and rivers may play maybe a factor in some of this.
Well, you've studied that for a long time because being in the Navy and going to Loch Ness, that's a huge body of water. So you're from firsthand experience, and even in Fred's book, he even has some kind of report of a sea serpent in the Parkersburg area from 1893.
Oh, nice.
So this is these kind of topics just aren't something new. I'm just kind of looking for explanations too about bodies of water, whether it's river or lake. What don't we know? What do we need to have a better understanding of the possibility of cryptids in certain areas? Let's go over, Robert Solomon. What are you discovering in your research of the Greater Ohio Valley region?
Sorry, I had it muted. You're fine.
Okay.
A lot of my research involves some extraterrestrial aspects of things, also lesser known cryptids. I know they have the Loveland frog monster down in Loveland. I also do a lot of global research as well. I have a lot of religious texts that I talk about ancient cryptids that a lot of people have seen, that people still see overseas, that don't get talked about a lot, like ghouls, for instance, in Arabic folklore. Those get seen quite a bit. Jinn were actually seen here. Kevin Paul has a book. I forget the name of it. It's right behind me. My apologies. But his first book talks about seeing Jinn here, or not here, but in Pennsylvania. And so I've traced a lot of that stuff. I've traced some Dogman stuff here in Ohio. Not too many witnesses regarded around here. Ohio is a very strange state when it comes to paranormal activity. A lot of our paranormal activity is in the tri-state region that Brian was just talking about: Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia. Up here, we don't have as much paranormal activity. People see ghosts and things of that nature, but a lot of the stuff is more geared towards down south Ohio. And I think a lot of that is because, here we have cities like Akron, we have cities like Cleveland. Well, they were big factory cities. So you had the rubber capital of the world at one time was, in fact, Akron, Ohio. There's a lot of paranormal activity that occurs up here. The Stanley House is one of those. The Akron Board of Education is another. The Akron Beacon Journal. You have a lot of different places. You have Stan Hewitt as well. All of these places have seen and heard different things. But as far wise as cryptids, we don't get too many sightings up here. I know Bigfoot's real heavy up here. They've seen Bigfoot in the Cuyahoga National Forest. I haven't been up there to investigate much of that aspect. A lot of my journey more is into the extraterrestrial aspect of things, aliens. I talk to people that have seen UFOs. I've talked to people that have seen aliens. I don't mention those people by name because they'd rather be anonymous. Sorry, they'd rather be anonymous. So I leave them to that because it's not for me to put their business or put them out there. So a lot of the stuff I deal with is UFO sightings. I deal with, like I said, global cryptids. I deal with some cryptids in the area, but like I said, our cities are so close to each other and there's so much building up daily up here. It's hard to get a read on what's up here in northeastern Ohio and what isn't. That's why a lot of times you might see me at talking to Brian or Christine at their conventions, just because they have a lot more sightings in their regions than I have in mine. So it's more of me getting out and talking to people. I'm very familiar with West Virginia cryptids. Matter of fact, my ancestors saw the Flatwoods Green Monster. So the Mays, I'm related to them. Lemon, all of them. It's a very distant relation. Like I can't just call them on the phone and say, "Hey, what are you guys doing? You want to come get some dinner with me?" I can't do that. But I've traced my genealogy back to them because my mother actually was born in Gasaway, West Virginia, and that whole area is a hotbed of UFO activity. The Army was seen taking stuff out of that region, tarped over. So yeah, my family's pretty deep in that region.
Cool. Yeah, that's a nice area. Okay.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and Rob, you are on the typical skeptic. You are frequently talking about the Anunnaki and spiritual topics. Are you seeing some type of evolution of cryptids, or in the Pittsburgh area? What?
I kind of feel like Pennsylvania sits on like when we sit on the Appalachian corridor, it's kind of one of the oldest mountain chains on earth, and between like the deep forest, the cave systems, and the Native American lore, I think we have one of the most like overlooked cryptid hotspots in North America. I mean, like I know Brian talked a little about the Chestnut Ridge. It's actually one of the most famous paranormal hotspots in Pennsylvania, and it's literally right in my backyard. A lot of people call it Pennsylvania's Skinwalker Ranch, but I mean, I did a little bit of research for the show about some interesting cryptids that we have here in Pennsylvania. One of them is called the Albatwitch, which is the Pennsylvania Wildman. Now, this is like a small, hairy humanoid, which is supposedly 4 or 5 feet tall. It has red glowing eyes, and it seems like a little like hairy humanoid. It throws apples from people at trees. It moves extremely fast through the woods. Some people describe it as a mini Bigfoot. Another one that I didn't know about, which I find really interesting, is we have one called the Raystown Ray, which is Pennsylvania's Loch Ness Monster. Now, this is like a long serpent-like creature, usually about 15 to 30 feet long, seen swimming near boats. Some say it has a horse-like head. Theories it could be a giant eel or surviving prehistoric reptile. Of course, we have the Thunderbird. Everybody kind of knows about that one. But, they say it has a wingspan of 10 to 20 feet. Dark bird-like creature. And another really interesting one, I think I heard, going back to Fred, I remember him talking about this at one of our meetings, the Squamp, which is Pennsylvania's, you could say it's like the saddest cryptid. It's a wrinkled pig-like creature, which is covered in warts and it's always crying because it thinks it's ugly. That was a joke. But, so that's kind of a little bit. I mean, we have a really wild, interesting and some quick bonus mentions. We have the Monongahela River Monster. We have the Blue Mist Road Creature, which is in Gettysburg, which is like a paranormal entity. And then we have the Fayette County Bigfoot sightings. And I find Fayette County interesting, and a lot of people on the panel, I believe, could talk about Fayette too, because the word Fayette means something in the paranormal, right? It has like maybe other people could get into that. It's
The
known
Fae.
throughout. Well, yeah, the Fayette, right?
Interesting. Okay. The river monsters is fascinating topic. So maybe this question might be more for the entire panel. I think everyone really knows the subject really well. I just don't want to just limit an answer to just one person. But are any of these sightings, like what Robert Solomon was talking about with maybe more UFOs, the couple samples of river cryptids, are we seeing some kind of pattern in the mountains of Chestnut Ridge or the rivers? Is there some kind of pattern of when these creatures appear?
So, if you don't mind, we actually have a place up here. I haven't been up there because it's it's called Helltown, right? It's not really much of a town anymore. It got bulldozed over. Suppose there's a giant snake up there. But in terms of patterns, what I have been told is that a lot of the stuff that we see in Ohio started with nuclear bomb testing. When they were testing the nuclear bombs, a lot of these cryptids, people were starting to see more of them. And I don't know how it is with a lot of you folks in Pennsylvania and your history of cryptids, but a lot of ours, UFOs, a lot of our Native American cryptids that are seen in Southern Ohio, they were seen more after the nuclear age was probably sitting, I'm gonna say 40s. So we're talking like 40s on. A lot more UFOs were seen, a lot more cryptids were seen. People were having sightings of UFOs. And I don't know if that's because a lot of people say that the aliens watch over us. I know that a lot of authors, Nick Redfield, for one, he's one that will say that we're being watched by a group of extraterrestrials. I don't know if that's the Zedans. I don't know if that's the reptilians. I don't know if that's the Nordics, that were being watched. And that when the nukes dropped, they sort of came to Earth, warned people. You have the Majestic 12. So for me, the pattern sits with, because I've done research in the past and done research after that, and I've noticed a lot of, and that could be because the atomic age was a science fiction marvel in a way. You had so many movies like Forbidden Planet, and you had all these science fiction B movies that people started paying more attention. I think, a lot of times.
Godzilla.
Right. A lot of times before science fiction, I love Godzilla. I got Godzilla stuff back here, as you can see, Mecha Godzilla and all that.
Awesome.
Thank you. But you notice sightings increase after the nuclear age. Before, a lot of times, I'm not saying cryptids, because a lot of times grandmothers and granny witches had spirits of the forest, right? But I think you see a lot more of these dogmen, Bigfoot, alien, UFO, Zedans, reptilians, all that sort of thing after the nuclear age. And so that's the pattern I see. I see a lot of the nuclear aspect of our civilization has somehow increased those sightings. And whether that be, via the splitting of the atom, sort of releasing a signal out, I don't know. I'm not a nuclear physicist. I know a little bit of Chernobyl, and I know a little bit of nuclear power in and of itself, but I am by no means a nuclear physicist. So in my estimated opinion, it seems to be that nuclear age is what sort of pushed us and UFOs and cryptids into the forefront. I know that's a long time ago, but from research before and research after, a lot more sightings were witnessed. I'm not saying that UFOs weren't seen. Supposedly George Washington saw something at some point. So, but I believe, in my estimation, that after those bombs are dropped, something changed. Something, changed for us in that regard.
Okay. And Barbara reported that John Adams saw had written a little bit about life on other planets, and some of the other founding fathers wrote about that too.
Right.
And you can read all about that in her book Before Roswell. Okay, so and let's see. I just got caused myself to lose track. But Christine, you and Kathleen are out and about on a regular basis. What what is the women's perspective on cryptid or paranormal research? What are you seeing that's different than what guys are going to report on?
Well, first, I just wanted to make a quick comment on your last inquiry. So I do think that when people see things, whether that be something extraterrestrial, something cryptid, something ghostly, paranormal, I think that it's only certain people that see that. I feel like that might be people that have certain abilities can see things more. So when we ask, is there something that causes it to happen more? It could be more awakened people with abilities that can see it. So that may cause, a flourishing time of reported sightings. So that's just one theory on that. On the question about, the female perspective, I don't really know how to answer that, just because, I'm obviously a female, but I have like a male dominated job. Like I'm a private investigator. I don't really think of that in a separate way. I don't know if I can distinguish between what a man's going to think or what a female's going to think, because I don't really think I put myself into that kind of thought space. When I've been a writer for since 2003. I wrote my first book. That's like 23 years ago. And I always had to write every different character's parts. And, I guess I would kind of distinguish in a gender sense that way, but I don't really know how to answer that question. I think I just report what I see as detailed as possible. So I guess that's all I can say.
Okay. Brian, I'm sure Terry has a view on that topic.
You have a view on that topic?
Not really.
I don't think we think about that. I guess maybe.
Yes, that's just what she said. I just from a male perspective, talking about it, I think females they're more sensitive, they're more psychic. I think they come upon a lot of this with a different view, whereas like a lot of men, we're techies, or we'll bring our equipment and things like that. They seem like they sense.
Well, I'm techie too, though, so that I guess I'm just a weirdo.
Yeah, but I think
investigating and examining all day long, so that's how my brain thinks. So am I more like a boy?
Yeah, we also have we have our friend Leah, who's she's a sensitive, and she'll pick up on things like there's been several times we've been out, don't go in there, and I charge in. Oh no, you don't go in there, and I get yelled at for both of them.
Looks like more of an instinctual use than a female might use instinct more. Is that?
Yeah, and I think women in general should be part of every I'll just roughly use the term paranormal team. Yeah. I think there should be men and women, because there's different sides of it, and I think they complement each other.
Oh yeah, and I use instinct for everything in my
Mhm.
job, so I definitely can identify with that. Kept me alive for 13 years in the field.
I know, but by the way, though, just saying, you know, with these panels, I've been on one and Terry's been on one. Christine does an awesome job on this,
Oh, you
and
rock.
she goes above and beyond, and the advertising is phenomenal. They got little videos out from the library for this cryptid event, and
I'm gonna put another one together. Got a couple
yeah,
more.
she just I mean,
Oh,
if any,
oh, go ahead.
also anyone that's in the area on April 18th, you'll have a good time. It'll be very enlightening if you guys come. I know
Yeah,
our group, we will have some casts there, and we're going to have drawings of some of the creatures that are seen. So,
Yeah,
in there too.
Brian, you and Terry do have a very nice display on your table with all the drawings that people have made, the casts. It is very informative. And
thank you.
Steve, sometime soon, Jeff Walmsley will be releasing a new book. Is that correct?
Yes, he last summer, Roger Scarberry, who was the man that drove the car on that November night, and was chased by the Mothman, along with his wife and another couple. He came to him and he said, "You know what, Jeff? I'm tired of people telling my story and getting it wrong." And he hadn't talked to anyone for over half a century. I mean, he gave those initial interviews, and that was it. And so I can't say much about it. Jeff said, Jeff asked him. He said, "Roger, just tell me, did it really happen?" And Roger said, "It scared the hell out of us." And I was in on part of that interview, but what I like to say is, my cat is on my back right now. Pay no attention to the distraction. That's what he.
It's too late. It's too late.
That's what he does.
I want to hear what he has to say. I want to hear what he has to say.
But the part I heard of the interview is under double secret probation, and will be in his next book. And if you've read the Mothman prophecies, you know that notice how I just ignore him. You know, he's just a cat. I've got about 2,000 of them here. But also Connie Carpenter, who was one of the early witnesses. She was driving past Mason County Golf Course, and she saw this thing take off straight up like a helicopter. And she came forward shortly after that. So he's got her interview. And then also there were several men digging a grave a few days before that sighting in Clendenin, West Virginia, at a cemetery there. And Emil Gibson, he's the last survivor of that group that experienced the Mothman. And his interview's in there too. Jeff has had stuff on the back burner for that book for a long time. So everybody, I suspect he's going to. I mean, he's so busy. He's got too many irons in the fire. But I suspect it's not going to be out until the festival. But we can't wait to read it.
Mm-hmm.
Get me a copy, Steve. I'm counting on you.
Sounds good.
I don't have those kind of connections. Let's see your cash.
I'll give you cash for that. I've got these other books. I got to get that one.
What a panel! Rob Khalil, what's the latest? With all the researchers you've had on, what are they reporting on in the greater Pittsburgh area? How are they broadening your perspective of where we live?
I don't know. I would say it's one of the strangest patterns we're seeing is like the cryptid sightings and the UFO sightings often happen in the same locations. Like like the Chestnut Ridge, or like people who like report lights. I mean, like when people are seeing like a lot of humanoids, like with UFOs, Bigfoot UFOs, that's kind of common. Uh, Dogman. It's been about the same. Nothing too out of the ordinary recently. A lot of similar stuff. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And that just Rob, what you were talking about, kind of goes back to Stan Gordon's Silent Invasion, where both UFOs and Bigfoot are frequently coupled.
Yeah, I love Stan. I got a chance to interview Stan a couple times. Yeah, I more than a couple times. And then I love Stan's research. It was funny. It was funny listening to Stan and Fred argue at the Butler conference.
Oh gosh.
No, but yeah, that's where I first heard that theory with Stan, and Stan would talk about Bigfoots coming out of UFOs with orbs in their hand and all kinds of interesting stuff.
Yeah,
that actually happened in Beaver County, where we live, where a white Bigfoot was seen walking in the woods with a glowing sphere in its hand, and we've taken, I think, about 11 sightings in Pennsylvania, Beaver County, Lawrence County, and over in Columbiana County of a white Bigfoot. So yeah, that was really, we do pay attention to that.
What do you think what that orb was?
I don't know. We started a study about 5 years ago on we call them light spheres. People call them orbs. We call them light spheres.
Was there a change in vegetation from before to after? Because that would be something that I would think they would study soil samples, everything like that. Because if they're holding an orb and it's emanating some form of energy, you think it would dissipate into nearby wood or nearby soil. So maybe collecting soil samples in that area might yield some results. I don't know. That's just something that came to top of my head real quick.
Well, Stan Gordon's group investigated it back then. They mentioned nothing about anything was that energy interacting with the environment. But just a real quick little side note on that. So we received a report up in, I think it was around Kennerdale. This was an older report from a gentleman who he wants to get involved.
Little cryptids.
So it was a guy that we know, and he was a kid back then. This was probably like in the late 70s, early 80s. This orb, this might give you a little clue into maybe about these light spheres. They saw this white orb going across the, and I forget the name of the river there in Kennerdale. Do you remember what the
Oil Creek?
Maybe it was Oil Creek, but so this light sphere was coming down the creek, and it was just past dark, and it was like self-luminescent. But he said he specifically said, he said, Brian, this thing casted no shadow on the water, none. It was self-illuminated. You'd think there would be some kind of a shadow that would show up in the water, and it didn't. So maybe that's a clue there for that creature holding that sphere, that from somehow it's self-contained. It does not interact with the environment at all. So again, just the fun part about this, and everybody here will know, when you start to pick up patterns from certain reports, okay, the one Steve mentioned about this wing, we call them winged entities, that was particularly called the Mothman, how it spread its wings and it shot straight up. We received a report 1993 from where's it at? That one in from 1990. Oh, Allentown. And this creature crossed the road. It spread its wings, and they said it didn't flap its wings, spread its wings, and it shot straight up. Okay. Shot straight up. And also in several of the Butler, there was a creature in Butler that they called the Shikora gargoyle. It had bent back knees. Okay. Same as the one in 93 in Allentown. I mean, if I've shown drawings in some of my presentations, the two drawings back to back, look like the same thing. 2011 in Butler, 1993 in Allentown. So, and another report that I read in a book that Steve is in, that the cryptid book that you're in, I forget the name of it. There is a report from Puerto Rico, believe it or not, of a night watchman seeing one of these winged entities that walked like a chicken. Okay, it had bent back. It walked like a chicken. Same with this one in Allentown. Really weird. The legs seemed to be bent back, and it walked like a chicken walk. So you start to pick out these little phrases and things like that from these reports, and it makes it more interesting. We try to delve into those little pieces that aren't really like out there. Kind of like an investigator, kind of like what Christine would do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm taking after Christine in a cryptid way.
You know, what self-respecting cryptid would walk like a chicken? That's what I want to know.
Don't dare them.
Winged entities, baby.
Or deer men.
We'll call it
deer men do it too. I've heard, or goat men, I guess.
Mothman just kind of shuffled off the buffalo, I guess. But it's interesting how there are so many variations on these things, along with the elements of high strangeness. Mm-hmm. It's not easy to put these things in categories.
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Flatwoods Green Monster might be the only thing that doesn't have a copart, like a secondary creature. It was almost like a one and done. They did see one further down. The name, I'm drawing a blank on the name, but it was the next town over that they saw another one. But as far as the Flatwoods Green Monster, I've only heard of that one sighting.
It was Gasaway, wasn't it?
Gasaway, but there was another. No, it wasn't Gasaway. It was further on down the line. Like if you get on 79 and you go down 79, like you're going towards Charleston. Yeah, it would be on your right, and I'd say it's a little bit past the visitor center. If you know where the visitor center is, it's maybe like a mile past that. But supposedly they saw the Flatwoods Green Monster or a variation there as well. So, but that's
I know the lady that saw it claimed she saw it, but in a park somewhere in more recent years, and it was more like an apparition, the way it just kind of floated along in the daytime.
So now what that does is this piles on more questions. Do the cryptids become ghosts after they die and then haunt the land that we see now? So, but like I said, out of everything I've ever studied, the Green Monster occurrence I've only heard of one time. Whether that other incident down the lane was because that one didn't get picked up as much, and I'll remember that city in time for the presentation. I apologize. But that was one of the few sightings that I've read about that was unique. You know, like Brian said, you know, the orb aspect or the chicken leg bent back aspect is something that's common in your winged entities. Also your goat men that I've heard people have seen. But this Flatwoods Green Monster thing, and I still pick it up and study it to this day. I still that one right there is one of my favorites. Like it still boggles my mind because the army comes in, takes everything away, and then leaves. And me and a buddy of mine, we were looking at army bases that are near Sutton, West Virginia. I think we found one that was within a 25-mile radius. Now, obviously, I can't just go there and start poking around. You guys might never see me again. But connecting those dots was my favorite part of that whole investigation.
You know, there's another weird element to that. In Nick Redfern's Monster Files, he talks about I can't remember the name of the magician, but he worked with the military and tried to create subterfuge to freak out the populace, the locals. And he did so in Italy. And he came up with something that by the description looks a lot like the Flatwoods Monster. And it was whatever this was created to frighten the locals into departing with the Axis at the time. But it's got a very interesting chapter in Monster Files by Nick Redfern.
I miss him being around. He's been gone for way too long. I've seen him talk at like Mothman Festival and everything.
Didn't he move back to England?
That's what everybody's saying, but I was like not sure if I believed it.
Well, West Virginia is famous for one-off monsters. You know, we have the Grafton Monster down here, like Steve knows.
Yeah.
West Virginia is famous for these one-off monsters. So,
I was working in Grafton, and I had my eyes open because I was out in the woods. And I was like looking around. I was like, "Am I going to see that monster?"
Well, too, that the monster sighting could have been a suit. I've also heard this. Talking with Andrew down at the Flatwoods Monster Museum and seeing some of the different pictures and artistic drawings that have been done of it, they say it was a suit, and it's almost interesting because that means there's something inside of it. So maybe that alien is prevalent in other areas and sightings, and that suit was a one-off. It was sort of like a prototype. They jumped into the suit, came down here to see if it was feasible for interacting with our air, interacting with our environment, our ecology, our biology. But like I said, going down to see Andrew Smith, and I've interviewed him multiple times regarding this incident. It's some people say it was an alien in a suit, and that suit kind of opened up, and people saw like almost like you're a reptilian but smaller version of reptilian inside of that suit.
Yeah, Frank Machino did a good book on that.
Yeah, I have the book behind me on this. Frametown. Frametown was the other sighting that they saw the Flatwoods Green Monster in. It was Frametown. I was just thinking in my head. But once again, like you said, it's a one-off, like the Grafton Monster. Nobody's seen another type of Grafton Monster anywhere else outside of Grafton. And then people say, the sheep squatch, that's another one that people say in West Virginia. I think that might be a little urban legend, fairy tale type thing. I don't know too much about that being legit, but the Flatwoods Green Monster, to me, like the fact that it was seen and not really seen again. And Steve did bring up something interesting regarding that, almost like an apparition. So that's even more scary that now we're getting cryptid apparitions. So that's crazy. That's crazy.
But I think everyone brought up some of the uniqueness of a few cases, like the cryptid is walking like a chicken with the knees in the back of the leg. That seems to be such pretty unique characteristic that reports from 20 years apart seems like it gives credibility to the people where they probably didn't know each other or weren't aware of the latter report is not wasn't known. The latter reporter did not know about the earlier report. So if the characteristics are very similar, doesn't that give a lot of credibility to the experiencer?
Yeah,
Christine, you would probably be dealing with eyewitnesses.
I don't do that for my actual work. But I will say that recently I did I'll pay attention to like if people reporting strange things. Unfortunately, my daily life doesn't permit me to follow up on leads the way that the rest of these wonderful researchers do. But I did recently see someone mentioning dogman sightings near Washington, PA, which really took me back because that's where I'm from, and I've never seen a cryptid out there. So I don't know if anybody followed up on that lead, but it's kind of I would definitely be very good at and I think later on in life when I'm no longer an active field investigator, I probably would like to take those accounts and maybe even do MUFON investigations. Right now I just, as you all can see, I'm in 3 states, so every day I'm in a different state. So trying to add too much more into my life would be very hard.
But It's just interesting with the eyewitnesses in
Mm-hmm.
uh, a couple isolated cases. Okay, seems like we have a pattern developing, but then as we get closer to uh, just about the 30th anniversary of the Phoenix Lights case, you had a whole bunch of people, eyewitnesses to the massive UFOs over Phoenix. So what a number of people are reporting seems like you just can't say these people are Looney Tunes. You had a whole bunch of people seeing something, or reports from you know uh, like a generation apart are the same. There has to be some kind of credibility given to the eyewitnesses.
I think you bring up a good point. As a person who studied giants, and a couple people here can attest to the presentations that I've done on these,
Mm-hmm.
I have multiple witnesses that have seen the same thing. Going back and reading old newspapers, having to go to libraries to get a hold of these old newspapers, and sifting through so many until I get to a space about that big. That's all there is. That's all the news there is. And the one key identifier in every situation that I've read regarding giants here in North America, especially in Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, is the Smithsonian was always involved, and the bones were always removed from the mounds or the area that the bones were in. And these are numerous sightings that people have seen. These men come in, take the stuff, and leave. And I've often said regarding giants, if maybe 100 people saw them and there wasn't historical evidence, okay, I get it. It probably isn't true. But when you have ancient evidence, you have giants in the Bible, you have giants on almost every religious text that's out. You have giants in Native American folklore. You have giants that people have actually seen in other countries, also here in Arizona and places like that out in the West. At some point, you have to stop saying this is not true, and you have to start saying what is being hid from us and why is it being hid from us. Why were all those bones removed? The Charleston Mound, which I've been to 4 or 5 times, they straight chopped it up, took the bones out, all the relics out, and put it back together. I had another incident where a high school actually had bones found on their premises, and they put it up as like a display, and then they sold it to a man from the Smithsonian for like $50. And the funny thing is, the Smithsonian will tell you none of this is true. They will say, we don't know what you're talking about. But yet I have newspaper clippings. I have multiple books behind me that show these newspaper clippings as well, that say taken by the Smithsonian, or somebody from the Smithsonian shows up and all of a sudden some guys come back, the bones are gone. So in terms of, eyewitnesses and examples, like people that see UFOs, there's too many people that have seen UFOs at this point for UFOs to be
Mm-hmm.
non-existent. Whether it's extraterrestrial, that's something we have to try to find out, because you can go either they're extraterrestrial or government. There's some higher technology that we don't have. But like we've just talked about, like Brian and like Steve and Christine and Robert, I'm sure we have all talked to some people that have seen something. And
Oh,
there's
yeah.
always a common characteristic. Always. There might be different of how they saw it, where they were at when they saw it, but there's always a common characteristic. Whether that be the cigar-shaped UFO, whether they be the circular-shaped UFO, there's always a common characteristic, and we have to follow that. We live in a time now where we have the ability to get the information at light speed. So if somebody sends an email to Brian right now, he'll get it right now. He doesn't have to wait 2 weeks for somebody to write him a letter so that he can get it. So instead of us looking at cryptids and UFOs from a this can't be real perspective, we have to start looking at it from a there's something to this and it's probably real, but what is making it real? Is it extraterrestrial or is it us? And I think that's something we have to start looking at more so now than ever, given the technology that we have.
Okay, and Rob Khalil, you cover very similar topics to what Rob Solomon was just saying, and Brad Olson was a guest with you just last week, covering some of these reports that you didn't see that over there. Just go over here and look at these penguins in Antarctica. What you're talking to a lot of guests every day on similar subjects. What do you think about?
One thing that I can agree. I agree with everything Rob said, and what I think is one thing is that a lot of people, if you talk to experience, they'll say a lot of people think the veil is thin. It's like people are starting to have more and more experience, so this is becoming more common. So it's to kind of back up what you said. It's nice to be able to have information at our fingertips so we can document it. But that's what I think. I mean, it could be more of like an interdimensional thing. These creatures could be coming interdimensionally, if that makes sense. I mean, I don't know. I was even thinking that about the ET phenomenon as well, but maybe everything's more interdimensional. Or like Brad Olson talked about, I've had other guests talk about like inner Earth. Supposedly there's we know there's deep underground military bases, but then below that there could be ET civilizations. They say everything that we have up here is down there. So are a lot of these trips coming from inner Earth? And talking about what you talked about with Brad Olson, when Brad Olson came on my show, he talked about Antarctica, how there's actually something going on underneath Antarctica.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Okay. We were kind of shooting for about an hour-long show. I know people have to work tomorrow morning or wrap up work this evening. I don't want to keep everyone real late, but Christine, do you want to say give a last minute plug, and everyone else could say something shortly, or for give a short presentation of when you'll be speaking next month, and plug any websites, and we can wrap up the show in just a few minutes.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much, first of all, for having us on. I do hope that everybody comes out to the panel, because the last two were about aliens predominantly, and artificial intelligence, things like that. So this is our first opportunity to present cryptids. I'm excited about a lot of the things that we're going to go through. Everybody has their own assigned cryptid. We're going to go through, hoaxes. And I never use this word, but skinwalkers, any type of human, cryptid blend that, isn't always discussed, like werewolves and things like that, how they have like the curse. So we have a lot of very interesting things that we're going to go through, and I'm, excited for people to come. If they could go ahead and sign up online at Bethel Park Library's website, there are links online. You could go to the Cryptid Panel event page. There's a link to register there for the library. It's free. It's absolutely free. The panelists are going to have like things that they want to sell, or as Brian will have some casts and things like that. Bigfoot cast, that'll be exciting to see. So really we just want to see you there. If you can't make it, We have a couple live streams going on. Tiffany Apan and Jonathan Stiffy are our sponsors for this show. We will, like I said, as you mentioned, we have the photographers, Ryan O'Shea and Kathleen Wilson. And then, live stream, typical skeptic podcast. So I think that's it. Go ahead and check out solsticenightsky.com. Check out the Facebook pages for Solstice Night Sky Productions. It's also, I also have an Instagram. And we'll look forward to seeing you. We also have Jamie and Jenny King, who are not here today, but they're going to be discussing the Erie Lake Monster and the Pukwudgie. I hope I said that right. Mm-hmm. So we'll have some really cool cryptids to talk about, and then the scary ones, and then everything else we can go through from there. Field evidence, the problems in the field, everything. We're going to go through it all.
Okay. Steve?
Yeah, looking forward to seeing everybody. Now, chances are I won't be there in person. I may be up there on the big screen, awesome. Like the Great Oz. And so I will be doling out courage, heart, and maybe a few brains.
Yes!
And
I'll take a brain. I'll take a brain.
All I need is some special effects, the smoke and the fire.
And don't look behind the curtain. Don't look behind the curtain.
Yep.
Obviously. I don't even look behind the curtain.
Okay.
You have a Mothman curtain right behind you, so.
Yeah.
I do.
I still have my Bigfoot curtain.
Oh, cool.
Okay. Brian, how, do you have a website, or you want to plug something?
Well, we have two Facebook pages, Center for Unexplained Events and Center for Cryptozoological Studies. You got anybody who has any sightings can message us there, or just message me personally on my page or Terry's page, or whatever.
Okay.
Well, I'll be on Christine has us on team, so I'm on Team Bigfoot, so I'll be talking the hairy cryptids around the world.
Wait, guess who Team Mothman is?
I have no idea.
No idea.
Is it just a one-man show for the Mothman team?
Oh yeah. Each one's going to represent a cryptid, so each one of them has their own designated one. Because there's so many, I thought we'd get through 5 on the first question, and then we could go into like some of the weird stuff, the blended monsters and things like that.
All right. And Robert, what? Do you have a website you want to plug, or?
Which Robert? Which Robert? Me?
Robert Solomon.
Okay, thank you. So you can find me over at youtube.com/ at This Uncanny Earth. I host a podcast every Thursday night. I know Brian's been a part of it before. We've had Brian on many years ago. We're always taking new guests. I'll have to get Christine on before.
Oh yeah, I was just.
Yeah, 100%. Yes, I got you, Steve. Also you, Robert. I would love to have you on as well, so we can have some great conversation. You can find me over there. We're doing a 3-episode series on ghost ships. So we've been talking about the Mary Celeste and the Flying Dutchman. So to Thursday, we'll be doing another one. I've been doing podcasting for about 7-8 years now on these subjects because I find them fascinating. I love talking about it, as you can all tell. I really enjoy talking about this kind of stuff because I don't get this interaction on day to day. Because a lot of people, they don't talk about it much, but I'm glad it's becoming more mainstream because when I was growing up, it wasn't. You didn't really talk about this kind of stuff, or you were labeled a weirdo. I was the weirdo. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Look at me now. So you can find me over there. I have a Facebook, Robert Solomon. You can also find This Uncanny Earth on Facebook. So yeah, come check me out. If you'd like to be a guest, let me know. We'd love to have you on. It's a great show. And thank you for having me. I very much appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for wanting to be a member of the Weirdo family. All of us, it's like every week just keeps descending into more weirdness, but we enjoy it.
Thank you.
And Rob Khalil, what's going on with the typical skeptic, and what are your contacts.
You can find me. First, I want to say thanks, Mark. I consider you a really good friend, and thanks, Christine. This is going to be a great event. Looks like you got
Yeah.
amazing performance.
Thank you.
Everybody here is like they're knocking it out of the park. This is a great show, and I'm excited to collab with all you guys. And I just want to say you can find me on the Typical Skeptic podcast. It's 2.0 because the first channel was taken down due to censorship. And then I also am really active on Rumble, and then I'm also really active on my audio podcast. And yeah, so thank you.
Okay, so the Bethel Park Cryptid panel is Saturday, April 18th, starting at 1 p.m. So Christine said, there's a website, check out the Bethel Park Public Library website for any more information. I just want to thank each one of you for providing fascinating information this evening, and I've just been great collaborating with everyone to help promote this important upcoming conference. So thanks again, and we will see everyone sometime soon.